Coming this spring in theaters near you. Worms.
Welcome, Scienteers, to another episode of 300 Seconds of Science. I'm your host, Tyler Dillinger, here to tell you about worms. Their scientific name is Lumbricina, and they exist in the phylum Annelida. This little critter has played an incredibly important role in maintaining the environment, as well as allowing mankind to vicariously learn more about itself. Worms, specifically earthworms, have existed for 600 million years. All these years, they've been enriching and recycling the soil right under our feet. Earthworms consume waste from vegetation and recycle the nutrients into the ground. While worms do often occupy spaces like cemeteries, they deliberately avoid spaces that are otherwise occupied. Now, not only do they recycle waste from vegetation, but the way that they dig invites fresh air and water into the earth, which further enriches the soil with oxygen and moisture, as well as trapping many harmful carbon gases that might damage the environment. Many New Age farmers do a thing called composting. Composting involves turning organic waste into plant food. Creatures like earthworms are used to break down and recycle organic waste. This creates a food source that plants can safely consume from otherwise inedible materials. If you're looking for worms at any point during the year, just pick a spot in the ground, grab a trowel, and dig in. In a plot of soil maybe 50 by 50 feet, you can find anywhere from a few thousand to a few million worms. In case you didn't know, earthworms are very small creatures with segmented bodies. Sometimes you can very clearly see the way that their bodies are segmented. For example, the tiger worm gets its name because it has stripes all over its body that indicate the tiny segments. These ring-like segments are called annuli. They're covered in tiny bristles that worms use to dig and burrow into the ground. Earthworms are almost always small, fat, pink, noodle-like creatures. One of the largest worms is the giant Gippsland worm. This worm can grow up to 3.3 feet or 1 meter and be as thick as 0.79 inches or 2 centimeters in diameter. Now, you might wonder, do earthworms have eyes? They don't, but they do have photoreceptors. These allow worms to tell when they're in the dark or in the light. Just as well, they don't have ears, but they do have a keen sense of vibrations around them. Sound waves are just vibrations in the air, so it is, in fact, a similar sense to how humans hear. Earthworms do breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, but in a very different way than you and I. Oxygen enters their body by diffusing into their blood across a skin-level mucous membrane. The carbon dioxide filters out of the blood through the same mucous membrane. Now, let's look at another part of their anatomy. They do have a brain, but it only emits basic signals throughout their body. These consist of fight or flight, light sensitivity, or a sense of vibrations. Their muscles make movements in response. Earthworms are very social creatures. When it rains, you might see a surplus of these little pink creatures surfacing and squirming about. You might think that they surface because they're afraid of drowning, but you'd be wrong. Earthworms can survive for up to 3 days fully submerged in water. They surface during rainstorms for migration purposes. Let's talk about how earthworms have allowed mankind to learn about itself. Earthworms are hermaphrodites by nature, as well as being one of the oldest sentient organisms on Earth. This being said, this also means that they carry both XX and XY chromosomes. This allows for programs like the Human Genome Project to better understand and map the human genome. It also helps us understand how we evolve. Anyway, that's all the time we have here on 300 Seconds of Science. I'm your host, Tyler Dillinger. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube at ZTV 300 Seconds of Science, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and give us a heart on Instagram. And, as always, go out, enjoy life, and stay curious.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.